where you're having that issue.
The safety pyramid is real.
It's real.
It's a real thing. Okay. Yeah.
I think we heard it a few times today. Like what you don't measure, you can't manage. A lot of the ELD devices that are already in the trucks that you're putting on the road measure all types of data that come from the trucks, right? How fast the drivers accelerate, how many quick brakes, a lot of different data that, some of the fleets that we've worked with actually use this to train and mentor the drivers kind of as part of their safety program. Some of them even have, bonuses or other incentives tied to, hey, like here, this is the profile of, what we think is a safe driver, and this is how you stack up to it on all these metrics. And if you're if you're within the parameters, you get a bonus or some other sort of incentive. So they're using that data that they're already collecting, they analyze it and they tie that into, how they're checking in with their drivers on a regular basis, and that becomes an incentive for the driver to kind of follow along. And there's all cost savings for the carrier there too.
Yeah, it's very good information, very good data you can get from it. And we had it when we first put it in the trucks. We didn't tell. We had about 5 trucks we put it in, and we didn't tell the drivers. They didn't know it was in there. And so we were able to analyze that data and found out, wow, there's a lot of harsh braking, a lot of hard cornering, a lot of speeding, all these things. And then we sat the drivers down after we ran it for like 4 weeks, and then we had the 5 drivers in and said, okay, here, this is the lowest. And 4 out of the 5 changed their behaviors pretty quick. 1 didn't change at all. So, they'd say he's not with us anymore. But but these things give you such instrumental data, and you can make a bit of a game of it. When it comes to like the fuel mileage, you publish it and you show the drivers and say, here, this driver's getting this much, and he's so much better than everyone else. And you make a bit of a game of it, and all the other guys will see that and go, hey, I need to improve upon it. And like I said, then you give a bit of a reward.
Carrot stick,
give a reward at the end of the month or whatever, and say, hey, here's the $100 TIM card for having the best fuel mileage. And then the guys will take note of that, and they'll all try to mimic that, and they'll try to exceed it.
Do we want to, before we jump on to finishing up with M&A, capping off, is there anything else that's burning that you guys would like to raise?
Don't panic.
Don't panic, but the only thing that burns me, it's been bothering me for quite a while. I really want to kind of say it's just what really irks me with some of the spot market. When you get into the spot market, is people are trying to offer load and say, I'll pay you this much because it covers your fuel. Well, that's not a rate you should be going to, right? When you look at, and you're driving down the road, and I wish Sergeant Kerry Schmidt was here, when you're driving down the road and you got this big 18-wheeler beside you hauling 60,000 pounds, are you comfortable thinking, well, someone just paid for the fuel for that, but they didn't pay for the maintenance, didn't pay for the safety, didn't pay for the driver training, they're not covering any of that. And that really kind of burns me. And I said, I know with some of the spot market, and I deal with it on a fairly daily basis when I get into it too, is I've had to tell people just plain no. Because that rate is just nowhere near where it needs to be for us to operate safely as a motor carrier with the general public safety in mind going down the road.
Stacey, you're in good company because Warren Buffett took the same approach. Just anecdotally, sort of the sidebar, but there was occasion early in his insurance underwriting career where he refused to sell cheap insurance, and lo and behold, a lot of there was a bad crop year because he was selling farm insurance, and his competitors went out of business, and Buffett benefited from that. That's sort of one of the things that launched him was refusing to write bad business.
That's it. And you have to. I mean, because right now, they said some of the shippers are in a stronger position because it is soft, so they feel that they can just drive down the rate. But that's where you have to. And again, I'm not pointing to conclusion. I'm not talking about rates or nothing like that. But just again, when you look at the rate of what someone's willing to offer you, you have to be able to say, is this going to cover enough?
Yep.
Not just the fuel.
Exercise your agency as a business person. Got it. Okay. So we've covered a fair number of these points with regard to M&A, Nick, but I'm wondering if we could delve into the seller's perspective. What should a seller, prospective seller who might want to like cash out or something like that be thinking about positioning their business to make it ready to make their next business move? Maybe they want to move from trucking into real estate or into some other line of business. What are your thoughts?
That's actually kind of a loaded question. I could do like an entire hour on that and still not be able to convey all the information. So we'll kind of truncate it, and every business at some point will be sold, right? Whether it's in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years, in 50 years, after it's passed to the next generation. So, some of the things our friend doing the tax planning mentioned earlier, that I would say is something that every business owner should do, right away, is making sure that you have your family trust set up, you have your corporate and tax structure done properly, and the earlier you do that, the better the return you get on that cost. And I'll leave it to you to talk to a tax expert on why that is.
We had a good one.
Having succession planning for your business is really important. As the owner, you don't want to be the key person. Eventually, you'd like to work yourself out of your job. You want to have a president, you want to have a salesman, you want to have like a VP of sales, a VP of ops, a VP of HR. Like, you want to have all the functions of your business delegated to good people that you can trust, so that when you go to sell your business, it's 100% true when you tell the buyer, hey, like, I'm in Florida all the time. Like, I don't really work in the business, I just collect the checks. And I mean, wouldn't that be a great way to think of it? And beyond that, there's a few key areas, when people ask me, how much is my business worth, we always give them a range. And that range is usually based on the EBITDA or cash flow or profitability of the business. So then I might say it's worth 4 times to 6 times. And then they say, well, how do I make sure my business is a 6 times and not a 4 times? So those are things like making sure you have a diversified customer base. You want your top customer to be less than 10% of your total sales. So that means you have to have a lot of new customers. You want to have high quality customers. If you can get multi-year contracts, recurring revenue base, all the things that really make the business high quality. Good systems, good reporting, data analytics. Some fleets that we work with can see, like, in real time, like every load that moves, how much profit they're making. And you really need to understand kind of what makes your business tick to be able to manage it well, to be able to maximize that profit. I'll pause there and let the guys comment.
Nick, I'll just add on to that from a financing standpoint, and I'm having a lot of those discussions with clients across the country, and the key thing is planning. You can't sell a business next week or next month, or sometimes even next year. Start the process early. Talk to your lenders, talk to your tax, talk to your accountants, talk to your lawyers, talk to an M&A shop, because it takes time. It's about planning, Yes, we're talking about the succession plan, the estate planning, but the tax planning, you're going to sell this business for a lot of money. What's the plan for it? Taxman is coming for it. So plan in advance, something as simple as, if you're looking at a potential buyer, going back to what we were talking earlier, they want to know not just about your customers and your finances, they want to know how you're running that company. What's your safety record? How efficient is your fleet? They're buying that for a reason. They're buying it to make money. They're not buying it because they feel for you, right? Because if they feel for you, you're getting bottom dollar.
Okay. Guys, any final thoughts before we turn it over to the crowd for questions? Q&A. Any questions of this esteemed panel? No? Oh, one. Okay.
What are the incentives? Like, let's say, for example, a fleet or yard wants to, actually, Tarek is directed to you.
Okay.
Like, let's say, if they want to set up a natural gas plant, not a plant, actually, like for a trucking company. Like, let's say if they want to have that facility in their yard. What are the incentives? And I think maybe Arun can second it after that.
Sure.
Or if it's how easy it is.
Okay, it's a big question. There is there are programs in different parts of Canada, so their emissions regulations are typically delivered by the provinces. So there are provinces that have incentives for trucks. Quebec has a program called Eco-Camionnage. BC had some programs that were delivered by the Fortis BC and some other utilities out there. At Enbridge Gas, we have an infrastructure program where we can rent out fueling infrastructure. So the capital cost is covered by the utility, and we recover it through a fee, as an example. But having said that, there are other companies in that. We're not the only ones who can do that. But in terms of the actual truck incentives, there is a federal program that funds, it's called the Green Freight Program, and it's a $200 million envelope that's geared toward improving the efficiency and emissions profile of combustion trucks. So some of the members of this room may have already been involved in that program. A good person to ask would be David Hiller over there. David can speak to a whole bunch of what are called prescriptive technologies. These are like widgets or improvements that you can make to an existing truck to improve its efficiency. An example of which would be putting on an APU, an auxiliary power unit, or energy efficient tires, skirts, fairings, things like that. But if you want to go beyond that and actually do fuel switching, they've gone through the first round of funding for the Green Freight Program, but we expect that there might be a second round of funding for the Green Freight Program, and that an application maxes out at $250,000 per truck or $5 million per company. It is competitive. You're probably looking at sometime in the spring for the second call out for the Green Freight Program, assuming that they have some money left in the kitty of which is roughly $30 million. So anyway, any other thoughts or comments?
Just a quick question.
Yep.
We're talking about low rates in the market. I mean, there could be a reason that's low rate because it's overcapacity, or there could be a reason because there's low volume from the customer itself. So what do you feel is more relevant? Is it the overcapacity or is it the low volume from the customers?
So I think it's a combination of both. There's definitely, there's definitely excess capacity of carriers, and so everyone's kind of bidding for the bottom dollar. I mean, we'll call a spade a spade. Sometimes you just need to keep the lights on. And so our advice is always, you've got to do that analysis. From a financing standpoint, your operation more than anything else. Where is it going to end up? That's a tough one to answer. Advice is look at it goes back to what we were talking earlier. Look at your operations. Yes, the rates are low, depending on the loads you're running. So some specialized loads are still holding their rates. It's the general freight that's obviously, because that's where you've got your most number of players. And this is where I talked about earlier. Sometimes it makes sense not to take the loads. It's a tough decision as an operator, but sometimes it does make sense. You know what? I'm not going to make money. I'm actually going to lose money.
Yeah, again, I think there was, through the busy periods, there was some people who kind of got into this to try to make a quick buck too. So that part is in the overcapacity. I think that's going to kind of change now that these people who are in here to make a quick buck are also going to be leaving out of the industry pretty quick.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, folks. That's it for now. If you have any questions, Stacy, Nick, and Arun are here at your disposal. Thanks so much for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks very much, Tariq, and to the panel as well. Thank you. Very insightful. Folks, we have a few guests who've joined us as well who'd like to bring greetings. Starting, we are in the great city of Brampton, so our host, Mayor, is the Honorable Patrick Brown, and he'd like to bring greetings on behalf of himself and his council. Please welcome Mayor Patrick Brown.
Well, thank you, Jake, and good to be here. Nice to see my friends Mario Russo and Kyle Seaback here as well from the adjacent municipality of Caledon. And thank you, Naveen, for putting on this fleet summit. The logistics sector is so critical to Peel Region, to Ontario, to Canada. The reality is, and we certainly saw it during the pandemic, that Canada's supply chain was kept in check intact by this sector. And the heavy lifting done, whether it was medical supplies, whether it was groceries to supermarkets, it was this sector that kept Canada going, kept our economy going. And I know whatever challenges we face going forward, this sector is going to be at the heart of Canada's success. And so, Naveen, you've given a platform to look at innovation, looking at some of the discussion topics today. You're really making sure that the sector can continue to flourish. So thank you for that. I had a chance to attend your job fair last year. I think it was at the Pearson Convention Center, also in Brampton. And last year when you talked about the job fair, it's also a reminder of the economic output that comes out of this sector, the jobs that are created. There's so much spin-off that's very positive. And so I think when you have a sector as large as this, to look at best practices is a great concept. So I wish you well on this summit, and I hope you enjoy your time in Brampton, and thank you for allowing me to bring some greetings from the city of Brampton. Hope you have a very fruitful day.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I appreciate your time today. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And
Thanks very much, Mayor Brown. Always good to see you, sir. Thank you. And I'm looking, as the mayor is speaking, I'm looking at all the sponsors, and thank you to the sponsors as well for their support. Next, I would like to invite, he is the Member of Parliament for the riding of Dufferin-Caledon. Prior to that, he was the Member of Parliament for Brampton South, a very dear friend of the community. Please welcome Mr. Kyle Seaback.
Thanks very much. Well, it's always great to be back in Brampton, where I was born and raised and had the opportunity to represent as a Member of Parliament for a number of years. I'm just a little bit north now in Caledon, where I know there's a very, very robust trucking community in Caledon as well. I want to say a couple of things. Number one, I know how difficult things are right now for people. I hear it all the time. It's tough in the trucking industry. It's tough for Canadians. One of the big issues we have in this country right now is cost. Big part of cost is the carbon tax. I know you've probably heard Conservatives talk about the carbon tax. I'm going to talk about it a little bit right now. We have to get rid of the carbon tax. That's going to bring down fuel prices. That's going to increase profitability for those in the trucking sector. We owe it to them, not only for all the work they did in COVID, but I know how hard the trucking community works. These are long hours. These are hard hours. They put in very, very hard work. I'm going to briefly talk about one other thing. The big issue right now is inflation. We have to get inflation under control in Canada, and a big part of that is government overspending. The chief economist at the Bank of Nova Scotia just said that if you look at the interest rates increases, many in the trucking community have financing. Some of that is at a floating rate. Interest rates are going up. Half of the inflation right now, according to the chief economist at the Bank of Nova Scotia, is due to government deficits. The massive amounts of money that the government is injecting into the economy, running these huge deficits. So we have to get these deficits under control. That's critical. It's going to be one of the ways to bring interest rates down. We have to axe the carbon tax to bring back affordability, not just for truckers, because if you think about it, the farmers are paying a carbon tax. When they produce the food, the trucker comes and picks it up. The trucker's paying the carbon tax. The processor's paying a carbon tax. When the trucker picks it up from there and takes it eventually to your grocery store, that trucker's paying a carbon tax. The grocery store is heating itself, it's paying a carbon tax. So when you think of all the inflation that's going on just into the agriculture and the food sector, we got to get rid of it. We're going to be here for small business, medium-sized business. We got to get taxes lower, increase competitiveness. We're always going to have the backs of the trucking community. If anyone has any questions, please get in touch with me. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Seaback. Good to have you join us in Brampton. I'd also like to invite the councillor for the town of Caledon for wards 4, 5, and 6. He goes to St. Barbara. I do. Please welcome Mr. Mario Russo.
Thank you, and thank you, Naveed, for putting on this summit. Thank you, and also to the city of Brampton for hosting. in Caledon, this is a struggle. We are working, we are going to be your partners going forward, and we just look forward to some of the findings of this summit and look forward to some of the conversations that you can bring back to our council. We're willing to actually sit down at the table and have these conversations because we are the largest landmass in all Peel region. And the reality is we are going to be the fastest growing community in all of Ontario. So where the struggles that Mississauga and Brampton have endured over the years, we will now be seeing it, but seeing it in a very exponential manner. It's going to be happening fast. So we're looking for the industry leaders to actually come to the table with us and work collaboratively to find some of these solutions, because not only are we going through a time of growth, but at the same time, as MP Seaback indicated, we have the struggles of inflation and all the economic drivers that are very challenging to the trucking industry, to the logistics industry, and to people across Ontario. So listen, we're here to be your partners, and anything that you need, please reach out, and look forward to speaking with you. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mr. Russo. Folks, we're going to take about we're supposed to be 15. Let's do 15-minute break, but we have an incredible, our final panel, best practices to strengthen relationship with freight brokers and partner carriers. That will be coming up in about 15 minutes. And then we'll take another little break, and then we have the Minister of Transportation, the Honorable Parmeet Sarkaria, who will be joining us. And then we'll wrap it up for some wonderful cocktail and networking, and then a beautiful dinner lined up. So please, let's take a 10-15-minute break. I'll start shouting everybody back in about 10 minutes. So thank you, enjoy yourselves. We'll see you soon.
I'm actually in Fleet Executive Summit 2023. I'm one of the speakers. My topic was corporate tax planning. It's a wonderful event. I actually add value to a lot of business owners because talking about tax planning. And I think today's event make me proud because a lot of business owners came and listening my speech and got a lot of valuable information. And I have to thank Naveen about this event because she put a fantastic event. And I really enjoyed it. And I want to come back next year to speak another topic. So I'm really glad I'm here today. Thank you. How's it?
It's good. I'll show you.